Hello and welcome to installment number 1 in a series of videos on my Soil and Ocean YouTube channel that detail different classroom uses for my picture book, Moth and Wasp, Soil and Ocean, Remembering Chinese Scientist Pu Zhelong's Work for Sustainable Farming. This video is on what I call solidarity science. I'll move from talking about the picture book itself to delve a bit into the philosophy of science, offer a real-world application, and then suggest a classroom activity. It may get a little heady at times, but you're the expert on your students, and I know that you'll be able to tailor this to fit your class. Moth and Wasp, Soil and Ocean is a picture book that tells the story of a real scientist, Pu Zhelong, who worked with Chinese farmers in the mid-20th century to find solutions to the problems of insect pests. During the 1950s through the 1970s, the Chinese government emphasized a policy called bringing together soil and ocean. The idea is that there are different kinds of knowledge in the world. Farmers have a certain kind of local knowledge symbolized by the word soil. They know what kinds of crops grow well in their areas. They know how to create fertilizer and use it, when to plant, when to harvest. Scientists have a certain kind of more global knowledge symbolized by the word ocean. They know about chemistry, botany, zoology. They can use a microscope to identify different species of plants and animals. And by bringing these two kinds of knowledge together and working in solidarity, farmers and scientists could arrive at better solutions to the problem, for example, of insect pests. Now in Moth and Wasp, the narrator is a farm boy who worked with the scientist Pu Zhelong and contributed his own idea for how to improve the biological control technology that they were developing to control insect pests. The story shows that Pu Zhelong respected the narrator's contributions and was also willing to get his own hands and feet dirty as he worked side by side with the farmers. So part of what solidarity science is about is having scientists who are committed to working with communities to address their concerns and priorities, whether that's controlling insect pests, cleaning up environmental pollution, or any other issue. But the part that's a bit less obvious is that to be truly solidarity and not just charity, it has to be about fostering respect for the kind of knowledge that regular people have. So some of your students may have parents who are scientists, but no doubt some of your students also have parents who are farm workers or restaurant employees or bus drivers or caregivers, and it's important to teach all of our kids to respect the knowledge that comes from these different experiences and to recognize its value in producing robust scientific knowledge that's necessary for the health of our world. So these ideas from recent Chinese history are similar to the insights that some feminist philosophers of science have promoted, and here's where it gets a bit heady. In a nutshell, situated knowledge recognizes that everyone has knowledge and that everyone's knowledge comes from somewhere and relates to their specific social, political, and economic situation. This is as true of lab scientists as it is of farmers. It's as true of doctors as it is of patients. All of these people have valuable knowledge to contribute, and each person's knowledge relates to where they sit in relation to the world. Then the concept of strong objectivity is the idea that our collective understanding of the world is more robust if it involves a greater diversity of observers. So since all knowledge is partial, we're going to know things better if we bring more people to the table, each of us examining a phenomenon from our own social location and each of us contributing our own situated knowledge. So here's a great image that I like to use to illustrate these concepts. I'm borrowing it from Sophie Wong's amazing comic titled Science Under the Scope, which you can find at the website listed here. And it really shows how having more people looking at and shedding light on a problem from all these different angles helps make sure that we understand the problem in all of its complexity, so our solutions will really take into account all of the different aspects of the problem. Now, we use these ideas quite a bit in an organization that I work with called Science for the People, and specifically I work with the Western Massachusetts chapter. We've been working with a grassroots community organization called Arise for Social Justice on the health problems caused by mold in housing, schools, and other indoor spaces, especially in the city of Springfield, which is known as the asthma capital of the United States. And so we've benefited a lot from the expertise of an environmental health scientist named Christine Rogers, who's an expert on mold in particular. We've also benefited from the expertise of other people who have other pieces of the puzzle. For example, activists who specialize in issues of housing and homelessness and who know the kinds of pressures that people are under to put up with unhealthy living spaces just because they can't afford to make trouble for their landlords. So part of the problem with mold and health, it's not just about understanding the actual, biology of mold spores, it's also about understanding the conditions of housing and the problems created by housing policy and housing law. And then most important, we've relied on the expertise of a woman named Tatiana Cheeks, who is a community organizer and the mother of a kid with a mold allergy. And she developed a wealth of knowledge on mold as she navigated housing court, code enforcement, doctors with various degrees of awareness of the health consequences of mold remediation in her home, all because she was working to take care of her kid. She developed all of this situated knowledge about mold. So this is a really good example of how solidarity science works. We recognize that different people have different kinds of knowledge, and that if we work together with mutual respect and solidarity, we can have a much more complete understanding of the problem and hopefully work toward better solutions for the future. So I'm hoping that this inspires you to brainstorm with your class. So this is an activity that you could do with your class. You could ask, what problems does your community face? And it could be a problem within your school or in the larger neighborhood. And then who has knowledge about these problems? So for example, food waste. If you identify food waste as a problem in your school, who would you go to for information about this, for knowledge about this? Perhaps you would go to lunchroom staff. Perhaps you would talk to nutritionists who could understand how, certain kinds of food are more nutritious and maybe are also more favored by kids and less likely to end up in the garbage. Talk to custodians who know what ends up in the garbage, know what kinds of things are in the garbage and how much of a problem that is. You could talk to kids themselves, right? Kids have knowledge about food waste. They might be the ones who know the most about it. Air pollution from cars idling outside of schools. This is a big problem for a lot of schools. And who has knowledge about that? I think traffic guards see a lot of school idling. Environmental scientists, of course, have a piece of that puzzle, right? Understanding the pollutants in the air and the health consequences of those pollutants, also being able to measure those pollutants. Maybe parents are the ones who are dropping kids off. Maybe they're the ones who are idling the cars. They also might be seeing health consequences for their kids at home. Bus drivers, teachers, of course, have a lot of knowledge of this. Kids themselves, again, kids are always going to have knowledge about all of these issues. How about a dangerous intersection? Traffic guards, again, are going to have a lot of knowledge. Traffic engineers are going to be able to supply some really important, crucial pieces of the puzzle. Police officers might know something about this. And then there are all the different people who go through the intersection: pedestrians, bicyclists, drivers, and of course, again, kids. So just like Zhelong and the farm kid narrator in the Moth and Wasp book, you two are bringing together soil and ocean. You're bringing together different kinds of knowledge to create robust scientific solutions. So you can invite experts to talk to your class about the different issues that you've identified. You can synthesize the knowledge that they share. Listen to all of the information that they provide and then synthesize what they've told you. And then you can brainstorm with the class to generate solutions that reflect all of these contributions and really come up with solutions that are going to work for the entire community. So thank you so much for watching. For more, please check out the companion website, mothandwasp.com. And please do subscribe to this channel so you can keep up with future installments, other kinds of lessons plans for that use this book. And if you'd like to buy a copy of the book or multiple copies for your classroom, you can find it in hardcover or paperback wherever you like to buy your books. Thanks again so much for watching and enjoy.